Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I bring to you a video because everybody is playing Doom. Yeah, everybody's playing the new Doom game. I never really got into them, so I figured, let's keep it topical within the sphere and talk about some Chaos Demons. I know it has absolutely nothing to do with one another, but that's just sometimes how my brain works. So, why do I want to talk about Chaos Demons? It's been interesting. A couple of us, uh, I'll be honest, a lot of me, lost their mind at Chaos Demon's new detachment of Shadow Legion. And this isn't to say that it's not good. As you can see, it's still been putting up results, right? Uh, the other thing that confused me for a while, sometimes your eyes tend to be distracted by the new shiny thing. A lot of Chaos Demon players were still on Demonic Incursion, and I was like, what's going on here? Why would we do this? So, kinda wanted to make a video talking about why you would do this. As you can see, it still is treating people fairly well. So, uh, I guess we could look at both back and forth to kind of do this, but Demonic Incursion was the index one. You all know the uppy downy situation, deep strike within six. Um, all of the good things, sticky objectives for mission play, bonus AP is pretty good, reroll info and saves, advance and charge, right? So all of these things pretty nice, right? Uppy downy over here. And the deep strike six. Cool things, demonic incursion still look good. And it got even better when some things got better. We look at improved Bloodthirster, Scarbrand, uh, Great Unclean One, Rodigus, right? Pretty good things. Kairos too, actually. Now I think about it, pretty good things as far as that goes. And notably, the other thing is that with Shadow Legion, you can't bring any of the epic heroes that isn't Bellicor. So while it's cool that Bellicor, gets essentially Dark Pact right over here. To use somebody like Rodigus, cough cough, we'll talk about that, and Scarbrand, you're still on Demonic Incursion. And some things that happen with Shadow Legion, as I see is developing, the restrictions, they're not really restrictions, but the light suggestions kind of keep you from achieving as much power as as I would have thought, right? So, going to what happens in Shadow Legion, you get abilities based on what you're aligned to, right? If you're taking Slanesh units, you can't be fire overwatched, which is whatever. We haven't seen that come out much. The main thing that everybody got excited about is Murderous Cow. If you're a corn unit, you get advanced shoot and charge. That's pretty darn good. If you're Zinch, -1 to hit. Gloam Rot for Nurgle means that if the strength is greater than the toughness, -1 to wound. And Disciples of Bellicor get Dark Pact. That's cool. That's fine. That's dandy. Oh, and Heretic Astartes, you get to join them in over here, up to 1,000 points at Strike Force. They get Deep Strike. And after coming down from that high, looking at results on top of that, again, fine results, but I've started to see why people would stay on Demonic Incursion a bit, and kind of wanted to talk through that if you are also like me and you're like, oh, this is amazing, what are we doing? Um, let's have a moment here to think about it a little bit. So, Spiteful Demise is cool, where uh, any phase just after Shadow Legion from your army is destroyed. Before removing the last model, and before rolling any dice for Deadly Demise, you can use your strat. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit that is within engagement range of the last model in your unit, adding 2 if it's Slanesh on a 4-up. Enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. On a 6-up, suffers 3 mortal wounds. That's cute. It's whatever. Encroaching Darkness. If you come in from reserves, you get Ignores Cover, looking like a GSC Host of Ascension over there. Channeled Wrath can give you Lance, +1 AP if you're Corn. Shade Path, -2 to charge rolls made for a unit, or going into a Shadow Legion unit, right? And in addition, if it's Nurgle, Battle Shock Test, cute, but 2 command points. Death Denied, regen 3 lost wounds. If you are Zinch, it can return up to 1 destroyed model with full wounds remaining. Also cute. And Binding Shadow, another kind of uppy downy. So, that's all cute things. And the enhancements are kind of whatever. For some things, Leaping Shadows is good. 9-inch Scout. Uh, Mantle of Gloom. While an enemy unit is within engagement range of the bearer's unit, -1 OC for them for 20 points. That's steep for what you get. Fade to Darkness, we see this often on Bloodthirsters. 15 points at the end of the fight phase. If the bearer's unit destroyed one or more enemy units this phase and is now within engagement range of one or more enemy units, you can uppy downy. Um, and Malice Made manifest 25 points. At the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit within engagement range of the bearer's unit and roll 1d6. On a 2 through 5, the enemy unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, the enemy unit suffers 3 mortal wounds. Now, thanks to the first time I saw this or saw what I'm about to talk about, was Nicholas, where I was like, oh yeah, it says Shadow Legion over here, so you can put this on the Heretic Astartes, Shadow Legion Heretic Astartes characters, right? Like any of these. So I think it'd be kind of neat if Malice Made Manifest saw a little bit more play on something like the ACDC squads that you're bringing. Going back to Nicholas, I actually want to talk about that for a second. We're putting Leaping Shadows on ACDC. So, that's pretty cool. But going to give props to the tried and true Demonic Incursion, you once again have access to your epic heroes. They have 6-inch Shadow of Chaos, and you can bring in things within 6 inches. So that's a lot more mission play compared to what you were just getting straight up with Shadow Legion. Corrupt Real Space, you get Sticky, and that also is considered within your army Shadow of Chaos for 6 inches around it. 6-inch Deep Strike, you got 6-inch Deep Strike. Uppy Downy, we know it, we love it. Advance and Charge, for everything. In the charge phase, it's fine, right? For anything, one command point, advance and charge really will save the day. In general, Drought of Terror, +1 AP in shooting or the fight phase, and if the target is battle shocked, you can reroll the wound roll and reroll invulnerable saves of 1. All pretty nice. The enhancements still tried and true. You can make a Great Unclean One that is now effectively T13, have a 4-up Feel No Pain, 45 points that did take some, but I think we'd still argue that that's worth it. Everstaff is Everstaff, Argath, King, Soul Stealer. The other ones, not as much of a threat. But say all this to say that looking at the list, it took me a bit to go, well, yeah, I guess, right? Um, Coming to Demonic Incursion, we see a pretty simple list, and I love simplistic lists like this. Just clean, you got it done, right? Bellicor, Rodigus, Scarbrand, Celeste. Bloodmaster, Great Unclean One, Rendmaster on Blood Throne, some Blood Letters, 2 Beast of Nurgles, and a Slanesh Soul Grinder. Keep it clean, gets first place. Tyler, Bellicor, Bloodthirster, Great Unclean One, Kairos, Scarbrand, Changeling, Demonettes, Beast of Nurgle, Fleshhounds. And actually, talking about the Fleshhounds for a second, now that they have their uppy downy ability now, I think I talked about this in the last Shadow Legion video I did. But as a person who plays a faction that has a unit that does this, cough cough Raveners, I still don't know why we do so many of it. I think it's like fine, but typically you don't need so many. And that's not um anything. It's just I wonder why demons do it when you have inherent access to that with your stratagems too. So like I get to save you points or save you command points that is. But I don't know. It's just something that I've noted in a lot of the list that I go, huh, you all are doing a lot of that. Uh, we come over here, Bellicor, Great Unclean One, Kairos, Rodigus, Nurglings, Plague Bearers, Beast of Nurgle, Flamers, Soul Grinders, Nurgle Soul Grinders. On this one, Slanesh Soul Grinder over here. Uh, that is definitely interesting, and I guess we should look at the Soul Grinder for a second here, because the Nurgle one gives you indirect fire. A lethal hit on top of that, if I remember correctly. Yeah, lethal hits. indirect fire, soul grinder. That's pretty nice. Uh, Then, if you go with Slanesh, you get Scream of Despair, Devastating Wounds, Sustained Hits 1, 6 attacks, 9/2/2 hitting on 3s. So, both pretty solid options. If, in fact, I think almost every option on the Soul Grinder is pretty okay. So, the fact that Soul Grinders are still making appearances, I can see that all day. And in fact, I guess to that extent, I'm a bit surprised that we're not seeing Soul Grinders just break through the ranks of Shadow Legion when you can give, again, quite the substantial things, right? Do you want a Soul Grinder that's -1 to hit that has Warp Gaze? I think that'd be pretty something else there. Do you want one that has indirect fire, lethal hits, and if the strength is greater than the toughness, -1 to wound? Or advanced shooting charge with a flamer soul grinder is the one that I kind of was always worried about. Don't really care about the Slanesh one, right? So it's kind of interesting that the soul grinders and demonic incursion are still seeing play, but they haven't necessarily translated over here to Shadow Legion for, I assume there's reasons. Let's just take another line to make sure that I'm not completely lying about those not being over here as much. Nope. Nope. For the most part, a lot of screamers and fleshhounds. Uh, Screamers and fleshhounds seem to be the backbone of Shadow Legion and demonic incursion. It's funny when detachments kind of adapt this thing unspokenly, where demonic incursion seems to lend well to the bigger things coming out, and just saying, "Hey, here are a couple of greater demons. Good luck." And it seems like Shadow Legion has definitely captured everybody's heart with, alright, I want to run a bunch of small shit. Here's Shadow Legion. Meanwhile, neither one of them say you can't necessarily do one or the other. Yeah, if you take Greater Demons, you'll have an easier time getting that 6-inch Deep Strike thing going over here with Demonic Incursion. But it should be noted that you can still do these things with the little eyes, and I guess yes, you can't take Rodigus, Kairos, Shalaxi, or Scarbrand in Shadow Legion, but it's you also can't include the Demon Princes. Nobody's including them anyway, though. Uh, but it is kind of funny that instead of kind of the list build with Reaper's Wager or some of those other ones where it's like I don't really want to take too many of the things I can take, that we didn't just go a couple of bigger things over here in Shadow Legion and say, hey, here's some chaff, like some a unit or two of havocs, and call it a day. Now, I will admit, it also seems that players between the two, the Chaos Demon players that I would imagine, I said I'm not buying the book just to play Shadow Legion, right? Are the ones that are more so. I have 2,000 points there. Now I should note we've seen popular names over here. Like Nicholas has definitely been a popular name for uh, Chaos Demons. So it's not to say that I don't think anybody playing Shadow Legion doesn't have 2,000 points of demons, but it's just funny kind of where things shake out. It's like, yeah, you could buy the book and double down on how much of an army you have. Like there's 2,000 points, or I could play, you know, I have this AOS model 3 times over and call it a fucking day and still apparently win. So I just wanted to take a quick look at the fact that Chaos Demons has two good detachments that encompasses all flavors of chaos. And I guess we should note that the other ones are still seeing play relatively, right? Plague Legion, Scintillating Legion, Blood Legion had something recently that I covered, but it seems to not be on here. Actually, that wasn't recently. What month was that? I don't remember. Uh, 2 months ago, somebody still had something with Legion of Excess, so, or a couple of people did. When did Legion of Excess get hit again? Can't remember. But apparently, demons are good for Hyper GT. So, just goes to say, Chaos Demons, you seem to be eating well enough. And if you are a Chaos Demons player watching this, why don't you tell me how come if you like the big things, why you're not in Shadow Legion, if you like the small things, why you're not in Demonic Incursion. So yeah, just a simple video going over the fact that there seems to be play. So hey, if you like the video, like it, got a comment for me, comment, and until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.